Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of The Bolder Woman on Wisp Sports. I'm Alex Rotas, and at Wisp Sports, we believe women in sport deserve equal coverage.
So I'm swimming those events just to see how close I am to breaking those records. And I have to keep doing it all this year and all next year so that when I get to 90, I know where I am. I've got my benchmark.
You've put your courage to the test, laid all your doubts to rest. Your mind is clearer than before. Your heart is full and wanting more. Your future's at the door. Give it all you got, no hesitating. You've been waiting all your life.
Hello, and welcome to The Bolder Woman. Yes, The Bolder Woman is for you if you're sporty, nudging 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or even 100. Tune in every 2 weeks as we hear from some amazing women and their stories that will inspire and motivate you. But first, a little about myself and why I'm thrilled to be hosting this new show. So I'm Alex Rotas, and for the last 8 years, I've been traveling the world photographing older sportsmen and women, people in their 50s through to 100 plus, who are still competing in the sport they love, both nationally and internationally. Lots of people don't even know that there are championship events for these age groups. Well, trust me, there are. I've been particularly interested in focusing on older women. Why? Well, if it's true to say that sport has traditionally been seen as something that men do and that men follow, and I think it is, to the extent that, as we know, women's sports have often been left out of the picture, then it's doubly true to say that the achievements of older sportswomen have been even more marginalized. And yet there are so many of them. That's something I have been and I'm still keen to put right. I'm bringing my passion about sport and my activism against ageism and all my experience of these past years to Wisp Sports now. On The Bolder Woman, we're going to be highlighting and celebrating sporty women of 50 and over. And my guest today is the multiple world record-holding swimmer, Jane Asher. Jane, who's British, turns 88 this March, so she's a master swimmer, currently swimming in the 85 to 89-year-old age group. By multiple, I really mean multiple. I mean a lot. She holds 22 current world records, and this is in a highly popular and highly competitive sport. In the US alone, there are around 60,000 competitive masters swimmers, and in the UK, there are 17,000 registered in clubs. That's just to give you an idea of the scale of this hugely popular sport. It's not just the number of world records that Jane holds that's astonishing. It's the variety of strokes that she holds them in, and also the different distances she swum them in. Plus the fact that now, in her late 80s, records she made in her early 70s are still standing. So is Jane a sprinter? Well, clearly yes. She holds 50-metre records in freestyle, fly and backstroke. But she also holds records in the 100-metre, 200-metre, 400-metre, 800-metre distances, as well as the endurance swim of 1,500 metres. Is that just because there's no competition once you get over 70 or 80? Well, let me tell you a couple of her times. Her 50-metre freestyle record for the 85 to 89-year-old age group, that's front crawl to you and me, is 38.75 seconds. Think about that for a moment. That's 19 seconds each way in a 25-metre pool. Could you do that? And her record for 100 metres in the same age group is 1 minute 28.60. The lady moves fast. Jane, welcome to our podcast. Congratulations on your achievements. You are very definitely a bolder woman. Hello.
Hi, hello there.
Could you tell us, first of all, a bit about masters swimming? What is it? What's masters swimming?
Well, we're called masters as from the age of 25. We are now allowing younger people to come in and swim with us, which is lovely because it means we see people who are as good as the Olympic swimmers. And it goes on from 25 in 5-year age bands up to the oldest person I know is 104. He can't wait for next year.
What happens?
when he's 105. Well, he goes into a new age group and there's new records to go for.
105?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's John Harrison. Anyone in England knows John Harrison. He made records at 104, and now he wants 105.
Absolutely astonishing.
Yeah, so mine's nothing.
Small potatoes, huh, at 88. How about you? When did you start swimming? Have you been swimming all your life?
Well, no, I haven't been competing all my life. As a child, the war was on, and we didn't do things that were done now. And so I grew up and came away from my home where we swam, South Africa, and lived in England. And I married and had children. And it wasn't until I started teaching that I started getting fit again. And when I taught some children who I looked at and thought they looked promising, I said, how about some racing? And they said no, they didn't fancy it. And I started by saying, well, I'll swim in some races, and if you come and watch and see, it's fun. So that's how it started. And I didn't do very well because I was swimming against children in the county championship. But someone came and told me then, a friend, Carol Bikes, she said, there is now masters swimming. And from then on, I was in my late 50s. Then I went coaching, and as a coach, you weren't amateur. So I had to wait until I was 60 plus. That's when I got going.
So you did your first masters competitive race in your 60s? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, really. I did one before I was 60, just as a trial, but I was well over 60 when I really got going.
Can you remember your first ever race?
Yes. I'd lost my husband, so I wasn't really working hard. I was just swimming because it was good for a broken heart. And so I came into a competition in London and just not knowing anything about it. I swam a backstroke race and somebody beat me, and I thought, I must do some work here. And from then on, I started training.
Tell me a little bit more. Why is swimming good for a broken heart?
It's good for everything. You concentrate on what you're doing and you forget everything else. And then the water soothes you. Water's like a masseur. There's a book called The Black Masseur, isn't there? And it's because it soothes you, it smooths you, if you use it properly.
So you started training in your 60s. When you say training, what does that mean?
Well, looking at the clock and measuring your speed and thinking about improving your stroke, thinking more carefully about how you do every little thing, pushing off, streamlining. All the things you teach about swimming, right body position, correct hands, and proper amount of energy you put into every little part of the stroke. So you're not wasting any. Because at university, I used to do the short swims, like 50 meters, very fast. But then when you go to a competition, you wait for everybody else to swim, and there's a lot of waiting if you're only doing some 50-meter swims. And I thought, well, instead of sitting around, I'll do some of these others. And so I thought I'd try 400 meters. And I'd miscalculated. That was very unpleasant, very unpleasant.
That's a big jump from 50 meters to 400 meters, isn't it?
Yeah, but I had done a 100, and I thought, well, if I multiply that by 4 and then add a cushion, it should be possible. But I went out faster than I should have done, and it was a horrible experience. I learned how not to go out to start so fast. It's nice when you pace it properly. It's easier than sprint, especially as you're older. You must be a little bit more aware of your heart, not being stressed. Plunging in as a dive for a start for an older person has to be thought about. Your reaction time is slower.
So what do you mean by thinking about diving when you start?
you explode off the block, and that's the fastest you'll ever be because you're going through the air. And then you have to hold onto the water and not grab and push. Just get a hold of it gently and throw it at your feet in a comfortable manner, and lengthen the stroke and hold yourself streamlined and make sure that you're not messing about. You're making it nice and smooth.
I mean, when you started this training, who was training you? Or were you training yourself?
No, I trained myself.
You trained yourself.
Well, it's not hard. My father was my mentor as a child. He taught us to ride horses. And of course, when you ride a horse, you start by walking and then you trot before you canter, before you gallop. And that's it.
Most people wouldn't be able to train themselves. I mean, you did mention that you were teaching children to swim. So most people, and I'm guessing also it must be quite different teaching children to teaching somebody who's 60 or 70 or 80.
Well, in your head, you're still 16. I do have to tell myself the old lady I'm living in is looking after me. I've got to be a bit more aware of looking after her.
So what are the differences then between training somebody of, I don't know, over 60 and training children to swim?
Well, adults need much more rest, not only between each set, but between each day and between each competition. So you have to be aware that you don't go to the nationals and then on Saturday and Sunday you race and on Monday you're back in there. On Monday you ought to take it a bit easy and so on. And I have to also to be aware that I mustn't enter every race in the program. If you do 2 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, providing one of them start at 1500, you ration.
I'm smiling now because I'm guessing that's hard for you to stop yourself from entering all the events.
Yeah, it is. Because for the decathlon, we have to cover all 10 events, at least 10 races, which means all 4 strokes and the medley. And from 50 to 1500 somewhere. And so you've got to try and fit it all into the year. And so I thought, well, I'll do everything in a year. And that meant 35 races. And then after about 70 years, I thought maybe I'll cut out something. So at 75, I think I cut out the 200 fly. And gradually I cut it. But you see, we go to Guernsey in April and you can do 10 races in the weekend. And so you clear them off the board. And that's terrific. Now I just have to think this April I'll do 8 instead of 10 and do some more later elsewhere in the year.
What's your competition schedule looking like this year? If you're going to Guernsey in April, I mean, how many competitions are you going to enter?
Well, I haven't entered everything. So far, we're going to Bracknell in March, and then I'm doing the Swimathon, and then I'm going to Guernsey. We're going to Italy. I shall swim in the Barnet. There's a competition in Barnet for the long swims. In Italy, it's just games, and you can only swim 3 races. So I'll have to do lots in July in Barnet, the 800, and maybe 200 back and something. And then after Italy, I come back and there's the Barnet Sprints, and then in November there's the Barnet 1500. And we've got inter-counties. We've got a couple of inter-counties.
That sounds like a lot. And your international event is then going to be in Italy?
Yes, it's games.
Right. I think I know what you mean. Do you want to explain?
That won't count for the decathlon. I don't think FINA will accept our times. So it's just, you don't have to hurry. You just swim for fun.
FINA is the International Swimming.
Fédération Internationale, Natation.
I wanted to ask you too, because you're 88 in March, and you were just talking about earlier on about, is it John, who's 105 this
John
year?
Harrison. Yeah, next year.
Next year is 105. So you've got a big birthday coming up, well, a year after next, right?
I've got 2 years to wait, yeah.
And how's that looking for you? Have you got some goals? I mean, are you looking forward to?
Oh Well, at the moment, I know what the world records are for all the strokes I do, but there's a lady called Gail Roper in America who's very ambitious. She's picked events I can't do, the 200 fly and the 400 medley and so on. So I'm not looking at those, but all the rest, I know what the records are at present. So I'm swimming those events just to see how close I am to breaking those records. And I have to keep doing it all this year and all next year so that when I get to 90, I know where I am. I've got my benchmarks.
So you're talking about the records for the 90 to 94-year-olds?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's pretty exciting.
I've got to get there in one piece.
Are you superhuman, a superhero? I mean, I'm just wondering about reaching 88. And have you avoided having any of the sort of arthritis or the joint stuff that a lot of people get as they age?
Now, I have arthritis. I've had both my hips replaced.
You've had both your hips replaced?
Yeah, but that's great. You know, they're really good operations, those. I had one done when I was trying to do some gardening and I pulled some ligaments and I messed it up. So I think that's why I had the first one.
How long ago?
15 years ago. Yeah. And then the other one began doing tricks. So I thought I hurt my leg and I waited a long time thinking it would get better and it got much worse. So that was silly. So when the second one began to hurt, I thought I'll get this done before it gets any worse. And I had a super surgeon and he did it so I could get back and swim quickly.
Ah, did you talk to your surgeon about the fact that you were a swimmer?
Oh, yeah. I had the same surgeon for both my operations, so he knew me for the second one. And I told him I wanted to swim the Hellespont in August. And so,
as you do.
Well, it's tricky that because it's a sea swim, but it's not smooth sea. So you have to do some breaststroke to get up the top of the wave to see where you're going. And that's my weak stroke. And they do tell you not to swim breaststroke after a hip operation. But he knew what I wanted to do. So he made my cuts where it didn't affect the muscles that I needed. And
I love that.
Yeah, he's a lovely man. Anyone wants to know, I'll introduce you.
Fantastic. So no ageism there. He just took on board the fact that you were a swimmer, a competitive swimmer, and he was going to get you okay.
Mm. And I had it done in May. I know I was recuperating at my daughter's house and she had the London Marathon on her television. And I was supposed to be doing my exercises every so often for so long and watching the runners. It's kind of painful that the operation is, you're under anesthetic, but the aftermath, you have to do these unpleasant stretches. And it's good to have something else on your mind and make you do them. So watching the marathon was good for me because they're amazing, those runners, because some of them are quite badly injured or quite old or not runners. And if you watch them running, then you think, well, it's worth doing this so I can swim because it's easy.
How long did it take you to get back swimming after you had your hip done?
Well, as soon as the scar, as soon as you can get into water, I think about 3 weeks after, you just have to.
3 weeks?
Yeah, it heals very quickly. You mustn't do silly things. I told you what not to do. You can't push off very hard, but you can sort of not use your legs very much and just, swim. But of course, once you're in the sea, then you've got to use everything. But I had it done in May and I swam in August.
What, the Hellespont?
Yeah.
So the Hellespont is from where to where?
Between Greece and Turkey.
That's what I thought. That's a phenomenal swim.
Politically, it's Turkey and Turkey. It's only 3 kilometers, and that's an hour.
Yeah.
And it's salty water, so you're quite buoyant.
But this is 3 months after you've had your hip replaced.
Yeah, I did wonder because there are 400 people swimming, and you all dive in. I had some Russians behind me because actually the water turned very rough that day, and we were all standing on the pebbles waiting to go, and our swim trek man came and said, look, it's all off. We said, what are you talking about? He said, no, it's off. It's too rough. It's not safe. We said, but we're here, you know. and the noise went, and we dived in, and that was it. And but everybody disappears because it's quite a big piece of water. And I thought, a granny, maybe granny shouldn't be here, but well, we're here, so we keep going. And when you get to the top of a wave, you can see the pole at the other side. So you just swim till you get up top of a wave, and then you see, and you keep going. It's actually quite nice.
So you've just had a hip operation, and you're swimming the Hellespont. And how old were you?
What was that, about 8 years ago?
So you were 80.
80, I suppose. Yeah, somewhere around there.
I'm smiling, I'm laughing, I'm shaking my head in disbelief. You're incredible.
Well, you forget how old you are. It's better not to keep thinking about your age.
That's very true. Although when you're a master swimmer, they keep reminding you, don't they, with all the age categories. So I suppose you do keep remembering.
Yeah. Well, you look at it because you're looking for what you're coming up to next. That's what matters, really. Looking forward.
Supposing someone like me, and I bet there are other people like me out there, said, I really want to get into swimming. So I'm coming up to 70. I know a little bit about swimming because I used to swim in the under 10s. I've got the strokes. They're very hidden, but I've got them. How would I start? Do I just go to a pool and start swimming every day?
Well, it's a good idea to find a master's club if you can. There's a lot to be corrected because people come to me now and they do things in a way that I used to teach, and I realize how much things have changed since I used to teach kids. So there are different things. I mean, nowadays we do quite a lot more out of the pool than we used to do, a little bit in the gym and going to Pilates or yoga, some flexibility work. So you start off just like once a week and gradually build that up. But you've got to remember that you mustn't go at it like you did when you were 11. You need more rest. And you just build. It comes. It only comes with doing it.
Yes, I mean, my problem would be I'd want to go at it hammer and tongs. I get enthusiastic and I'd want to throw myself at it. But that's not a good idea, you're saying.
No, well, it feels bad. The first time I got in, I did about 2 lengths. I thought, oh, gee, what's this? My arms are unpleasant. And you don't realize you've gone too fast. So then you do another 2 lengths, not quite so fast, until you can do more without it feeling unpleasant. And change from one stroke to another, because a lot of people, when they were children, the school would put them in, they were the breaststroke swimmer, and that's all they swam. Or they were backstroke swimmer, and that's all. So you must now try and do medleys, even if it's only drills, little bit of butterfly, little bit of breaststroke, and then more of what you can do, and build it up. It's like building a wall. You've got to start at the bottom, get the basics right, get your strokes right.
I'm guessing also that joining a master's club, it's not just because you're going to get good tuition. You've got you start making friends, don't you? You've got the camaraderie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the major part. For a lot of people come in once they've lost a partner or a job, or they've moved to a new area, they want friends. And you very soon make friends because nobody knows what your position in life is, whether you've got money or not. You don't talk about those things. You talk about your swimming. I knew when I started, there was a man who was a dustman. And we never knew until he started talking about it. And of course, we have eye surgeons. We have, I think some of the royalty do actually swim. They don't tell you. But, and there are people from other countries. You learn other languages, and you learn so much more than you would have done if you'd stayed at home.
I love that. Jane, that's a wonderful, wonderful note to end on. I think I feel very, very fired up, and I like the idea of it being a leveler. And that's just great. Thank you so much for talking to us today, Jane.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
And very good luck through this year, and also as you head towards your new age group, where I'm sure you're going to add to your 22 standing world records.
Thank you very much indeed.
conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
And that's our first episode. I'll be back in 2 weeks with another inspiring guest. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe to Wisp Sports on your podcast player. The show notes for this episode can be found on the Bolder Woman show page at wispsports.com. While you're on the website, you'll find a lot more coverage of women's sports, from podcasts to videos, interviews and blogs covering all sports around the world. Follow us and share your comments on social media at Wisp Sports and at Alex Rotas. We'd love to hear from you. If you've any suggestions for guests or would like to tell us what you think of the show, drop us a line at info@wispsports.com. Until the next time, thank you so much for listening. We know you've got a choice when it comes to listening to podcasts. So thank you for being there. And thank you for supporting women in sport everywhere.
This is your moment.